Well, the first thing I have to comment on is, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, I didn't recall. I thought the NBC coverage was very well done. The booth was great, as it usually is. I don't recall a single ad read or promo for Detroit next week. Did you guys see any of that?
No, I didn't.
Don't
And
believe
I mean,
so.
yeah, that just goes back to the whole marketing. I mean, this is the biggest race of the year, and we have a race next week. Obviously, it's a very different type of track, but it just drives me crazy. I wish that more people would know that this series exists on a larger scale rather than just this one day a year. So I wanted to comment on that because, as we're talking about right now, there is a points championship, and there are races later in June and throughout the rest of the summer into the fall, and it's incredibly frustrating that those are not marketed better than they are.
I saw a statistic over the weekend saying that 70% of Indy 500 fans don't watch another race for the rest of the year, and that's a major problem, like a big problem.
You know, Kobe, I saw Doug Bowles put that number out there a couple of weeks ago, and I'm honestly shocked it's not higher. I would have thought it was closer to 80%, maybe even 85%, because I know that so many people come to this race. I mean, we made the point on Grid tonight. There were more people at the 500 yesterday than watched, what was it, Long Beach, I think, that only had 307,000 viewers on USA for your second most prestigious race of the year. More people were at your first than watched your second. That is a problem. So the fact that it's only 70%, you know, I'm happy it's not higher, but I'm a little surprised it's not higher because they're like we just talked about. Where was the marketing for Detroit? Where was the marketing for our season finale? I guess the only other race where we're on anywhere close to a similar type track. We have more ovals coming, but they're all shorter ovals where we're not using this exact aero kit. I mean, just the marketing needs to step it up, and we need to take a greater advantage of what we have here this one day a year where we have so many eyeballs on this sport, and let them know and tell them, hey, make sure you tune in next week because these guys will be right back at it again doing something completely different, and maybe you'll enjoy that too, and maybe you become a fan of the entire series rather than just this one race a year.
It sort of reminds me of the dilemma in thoroughbred horse racing. Everybody, the Kentucky Derby, they tune in, they watch it.
Oh.
If I don't remember which one is after the Kentucky Derby for the Triple Crown, where it's the Belmont
Preakness,
or Preakness,
and then Belmont.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's the exact same problem, Joe. Like you mentioned, you know, horse racing is a year-round sport, but I mean, the horse racing fans, they've got to hope that the Kentucky Derby winner wins the Preakness, because if that doesn't happen, then nobody even cares about the Belmont because nobody's going for a Triple Crown. So they have the exact same sort of dilemma. They have to market their sport to their fans that watch the Derby every year and get them to become true horse racing fans rather than just Kentucky Derby fans. It's the exact same deal. It's a great point.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. It was like, if that Kentucky Derby winner does not enter the Belmont with the chance of winning the Triple Crown, nobody cares about the Belmont. Nobody really, the viewership numbers just sink. For IndyCar, we have the Indy 500. How is it? Even if we kept 10% of the viewers or even 5% of the fans, a minimum, to come back to Detroit. I know for the longest time it was Milwaukee after the Indy 500. If there was some way to retain that and show there's a championship online, this isn't just IndyCar because they raced the Indy 500. This is IndyCar, a series of races 17 times across the United States. I do at least remember at one point when Colton heard a crash, they said Colton needs to get back in their car. This is just one race out of 17. I don't know how far that's going to go and getting people to realize, oh, they have more races. Maybe I'll look it up, but I don't recall a single promo or anything. We'll see you all next weekend for Detroit. Not once, which I think is a missed opportunity, especially for NBC and their networks that follow the IndyCar series. So it'll be something IndyCar, hopefully NBC, especially starting next year, if it is NBC or another channel, they could work on improving those numbers so we have that higher retention rate race after race. And we do have a comment in the chat room. While IndyCar has a great racing product, the lack of marketing efforts outside of the Indy 500. I think that's the big thing. The Indy 500, it could tell itself such a huge story of just that race alone. How can we get that story to go around for each and every race?